Hello and welcome to this discussion on getting a job in the legal profession. We'll be hearing today from a number of experts offering tips and advice to help you. My name is John Watkins. I'm the Director of Employability at the University of Law. My career started out as an accountant. I'm a qualified accountant and spent 15 years working in another form of professional services. I found myself increasingly interested in the development and management of people. And as a result of that, I moved into internal training roles and externally started visiting schools and universities to help young people understand what was required in the workplace as they went forward. That led me to this role as the Director of Employability at the University of Law, where I support the students developing a range of skills to complement their academic learning. With me today, I have a number of experts who will now introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Marie Scott. I'm a partner in the real estate team at Nabarro. I joined Nabarro as a trainee, having previously done a summer student placement there when I was at university. I went through university doing a law and anthropology degree, then went to do the LPC, then joined Nabarro as a trainee and have been there ever since. As well as being a partner in the commercial real estate team, I'm also the graduate recruitment partner and training principal for the firm. So I have a huge amount of time of mine involved in the trainees, in the recruitment process and in the career development of our young lawyers.
Hello, my name is Cameron Stocks and I'm a Pupil Barrister at Hardwicke and I specialise mainly in commercial and residential property. I've been at Hardwicke now around about 9 months and I have the terrifying Tenancy decision looming in the summer. And I come from the northeast and I went straight through and through from state school to Durham University, then through to bar school and then straight on to pupillage. So this is my first and only career at the moment.
Hello, I'm Paul Cannons. I'm a careers consultant at BPP Law School. I've been working in that role for about 3 years. I've always had a rich history of working with young people and their development. My early career was in teaching. I then evolved into graduate recruitment. And I also had a spell working with Newham Education Business Partnership, again similar to my colleague John, going into schools and talking about employability, and that's led me to my current role.
Let's start the discussion then by looking at the key skills required to be a successful lawyer in today's world, and perhaps reflecting upon how some of those have changed over time. Paul, if I can start with you. What are your thoughts on this subject?
I think the skills that I think are important in terms of the role of a modern lawyer, the key one that's never going to go out of fashion, and it's so important in a lot of professions, are communication skills, whether that's written in terms of applications or presentation skills. And I think I would categorise it under 4 key headings, which is I think what's increasingly important is your customer and client work and evidence of that. I think it's also important to show you're evolving. The biggest thing that's changed obviously is the IT. It's always evolving, and how does that impact in your current role, and what are you doing to develop that? And finally, you should show some form of evolution and development of your key skills.
So communication skills, Marie, from an employer perspective, is that key for you?
Absolutely. We are a client-focused business. We are a service provider. It's taken as read that you will be intelligent, that you will have academic ability when applying and being successful in securing a training contract and developing your career. That's an absolute must. But if you can't communicate that both within your team internally where you work, but also more importantly to your clients, then it's going to be tough. I think also the ability to think on your feet whilst communicating. I think when I was a trainee in the olden days, it was probably a little easier to hide behind letters and faxes, which people used to send. I'm not even sure we have a fax machine anymore. But a lot has changed. Things are a lot more time pressured. There's a lot more, I think, direct contact with clients, whether that's on the phone or in meetings. Email, of course, has become the way that we communicate and is far more prevalent than when I was a trainee. And because of that sort of instantaneous communication, clients expect proper communication and they expect it instantaneously. So they ask a question, they fire a question at you, and they put you under pressure to respond. So you do have to have an ability to think on your feet. You don't always have the luxury, unfortunately, of being able to run off to ask somebody for help or to go and look up the answer. So you really do have to be able to sort of communicate and think as you go. But I think also, particularly as a junior lawyer, as a trainee, you also have to know your limitations. So whilst you are having questions fired at you, maybe by clients, or you are being put on the spot and there is time pressure being applied to you, you mustn't ever fall into the trap of giving an answer just because that's what the client is demanding. You have to know your own limitations, and you have to know when you do need to be able to say, actually, I need to go and check this, and you mustn't be afraid to do that.
Yeah, sometimes I think in interview processes you'll find that unanswerable question, and in many respects the employer is looking to see partly whether you can think on your feet and come up with an answer, but also whether you're willing to admit you don't know. Because if you go into a client situation and try and bluff it and hope that you can come up with the right answer, that's a high risk. It's much better to admit that you don't, and then as a result of that, learn what you need to know and proceed from there. Cameron, your perspective obviously is a little fresher, so I'm interested to understand the sort of skills that A, you demonstrated to get the role that you have now, and B, that you're using, and perhaps also to reflect upon how it is working with individuals who are more senior, more experienced, and perhaps developed in a different era where some of those skills are a little different to how they are now.
Well, I would definitely echo everything that's been said so far on that communication and the interpersonal skills are something that never goes away, but it comes in different formats. So now, even at the bar, which has always been this self-employed, independent profession, nowadays has much more experience with clients. There's direct access clients, and you don't always have, even when you have a solicitor on board, that filter, and that you might have the instantaneous conversation with your client where they might email you for advice, and especially direct access when you don't have that filter at all. And so you have to be able to get on with your colleagues, your clients, then thinking on your feet as well, not only with clients and colleagues, but then when in court as well. That's all a very pressured environment. But it is incredibly important, as you've said, not to be tricked into diving into something or giving an answer or saying something that may not necessarily be correct just because you feel pressured, and that there is no harm whatsoever. And even I've done this before in court, if you need to take a moment to gather your thoughts, and this is for interview as well, that everyone on the panel would much rather you just breathe for a second, collected your thoughts, then dive back into the question, because that way a much more crisp, clear answer will come out, and comprehensive as well. And speaking to other members of the profession, seeing members of the bar of all different seniorities, I think they would echo the same as well. There are core skills that never change, so the ability to think on your feet, communication, independence, hard work, but then so many factors influence those, so the prevalence of technology, so being able to sort of adapt to new environments, and that technology is ever increasing in the legal profession, and then also the increase of litigants in person and direct access as well, of being able to deal directly with clients, and realise that not everyone is legally qualified, and that the jargon you may sort of spout out to a solicitor won't be understood by those clients, and being able to translate that into lay speak.
I think that's right, and our strapline, funnily enough, at Nabarro is clarity matters, and it's something that we came up with quite a few years ago, but was really sort of succinctly describing what we'd been trying to achieve for years. And you're absolutely right. You know, we can blindside clients with legal gobbledygook, but I think gone are the days where clients are impressed by that, where they're willing to pay for, you know, by the word, and actually they just want something clear, concise, straightforward, and that is a skill in itself, being able to take very often complex concepts and scenarios and trying to break them down and simplifying them so that the clients who aren't stupid or unsophisticated, they're very intelligent and sophisticated themselves, but they don't have the time to wade through the reams and reams of legal analysis that you might have had to go through. They want a yes or no answer half the time, maybe followed by a summary of this is the detail, but they really do need you to make those decisions and to be absolutely clear about them.
A lot is very cost driven nowadays, and that is it's very expensive to embark on any sort of legal process at all, let alone litigation. And it's one of the tips I was always given, that we kind of compare ourselves into maybe a doctor or a medical professional, and they say when a patient comes to you, they don't want to know the ins and outs of the virus or the infection they may have. They want to know, 1, is it going to kill me? 2, do you have the antidote? And 3, how much is it going to cost? And you can take that, transfer that into the legal profession, and normally it's all wonderful, they're legal, and it's very interesting when you get the academic background, but practically, do you have the solution? Can you give me the solution? And is that solution expensive? Is normally what the client wants to know, as well as all of the background that can come as the periphery to that as well, to show that you've added that value practically And that comes in and feeds in to one of the topics we will be talking about, which is this wider concept of commercial awareness.
Yeah, I think that clear, crisp communication comes back to basics as well when you're making application forms. So many people complicate answers. I mean, what you're looking for as a recruiter is easy, clear, written English, and make your case. Don't make it complicated.
But is your chance to demonstrate that you have those written advocacy skills? If you can't demonstrate on the paper, then you can't get over the first hurdle, and that is your chance. So simple things, proofread your application many, many times, hand it to somebody else and say, does this make sense? Are there any typos? Have I mistakenly, because everyone knows that you're applying to multiple sets and multiple firms, but don't make the simple mistakes. Make sure the firm's name is correct. Yeah. For example, we're Hardwicke, not Hardwicke Chambers, and so many people would put that in an application. All those simple things, that if you can get over that first hurdle, then everything else can hopefully fall into place.
Attention to detail is really important. You know, this is a profession, whether you want to be a solicitor or a barrister or go even to the academic side of the profession, it is a profession where you have to strive for perfection. And we're all human, and we know that we can't achieve perfection every minute of every day, but you absolutely have to strive for perfection. You know, the answers that you give your clients, the advice that you provide to them has to be right. And if you let yourself down with sloppy drafting, with typos, with poor grammar, it's not going to instill confidence in whoever you're in front of, whether that's somebody you're wanting the job from or a client you're providing advice to or trying to secure work from. They're not going to be impressed. They're going to think, well, if you can't even get that right, then how can I trust that you're going to advise me properly, or how can I trust that you're going to be the right candidate for me to employ? So I think attention to detail is absolutely critical.
There are so many options out there nowadays that if the client want to, if you can't impress and show them you can do the job, there are so many other people out there that can do it. So it's incredibly important that you can offer them something extra that nobody else does.
So the key skills that we require for today's lawyers are many and varied. Perhaps important to reflect on some of the more traditional skills, so those communication skills, which of course is multiple in layer. It's the written version, it's the spoken version, both on a one-to-one and a larger basis, and indeed the ability to present, which perhaps in time gone by wasn't a key requirement, but is increasingly important in an environment where you need to communicate your messages to large audiences.